results are in. The nominee for the Republican Party to be president of the United States yet again. And here we are. And all the, have you noticed in the past, I guess it's only been about 18 hours, all the little scum-sucking Christian fascists have crept on board SS Trump. Have you noticed that? Mitch McConnell slithered his way on. Joni Ernst slithered her way on. They're all lining up. Everybody's lining up to go with the fascist states of America. This is really, really, really upsetting to me. And now I understand that the Georgia House or the Georgia Senate, one of the two, I'm not sure yet because this just broke a little while ago, they are beginning to hold hearings on whether or not Fani Willis should be disqualified as the prosecutor in this case against the Orange Bastard. The Supreme Court announced that they will hear his disqualification case in April. Oh, Jesus Christ. You know, he's going to do it again, isn't he? This filthy Nazi pig, this ignorant slob Donald Trump, is going to slither his way out from under everything. He's got a federal judge in his pocket in Florida for the documents case. He is so far working successfully. I'm just guessing. I live here in Atlanta, I live in Atlanta, so I can pretty much tell you that the efforts to disqualify Fani Willis are proceeding apace. I'm really concerned. Speaking of MAGA bastards in our legislature, you know, the ones that are holding up any kind of aid to Ukraine. And remember, this is Trump telling the U.S. House of Representatives to not vote on aid to Ukraine or border security, southern border security. And the so-called Speaker of the House, this little Christian gnome who goes visit and visits at Mar-a-Lago to understand fully what the Orange Bastard wants him to do, the Speaker of the House will not bring this up for a vote, even though it would be passed. But the reason, it's exactly what Trump has been saying. This is his revenge tour. He's going to get back at everybody who ever made him feel bad just because he wants to fuck over everybody and you found me out and now you're trying to get me to be responsible. Oh, you dirty bastards, I'm going to get you. Well, in his crosshairs is Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Because if you remember, a lot of this shit started when Zelensky refused to come up with some bullshit about Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. And now it turns out that all that bullshit was just that, bullshit, put together by a Russian operative. And now the slimy son of a bitches like this redneck Comer and Jacket Off Jim, who had these two committees who have been trying to nail Hunter Biden and Joe Biden, they won't quit, even though it turns out that all of their information was a fucking lie put together by Russian intelligence. Now, I don't know what conclusion you draw from that, but the conclusion I draw is very simple. Jacket Off Jim and the hillbilly Comer are useful idiots, is the way I think Lenin used to describe these son of a bitches in this country who wanted to further totalitarian communism. So now it's Putin with his Christian fascism. And I'm sure Putin looks at all of these people in our government, in our legislative branch, who refuse to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Putin is looking at them and saying, yep, I'm sure glad those dumb son of bitches are in the U.S. legislative branch. Not for much longer. Well, the latest from Ukraine is a Russian missile strike that appeared to target Volodymyr Zelensky today, Wednesday. This missile landed near his motorcade in the Black Sea port city of Odessa. And Zelensky was meeting with the Greek Prime Minister, Mitsotakis. So had the missile done the work that Putin wanted to do, it would have gotten Zelensky and the Greek Prime Minister. Zelensky and members of the Greek delegation, including Mitsotakis, were not harmed, even though the missile landed about 500 feet away. 500 feet. A football field is 300 feet. 500 feet away. This is according to Greek officials. The office of the Ukrainian president did not immediately respond to requests for comment, yada, yada, yada. Now, according to published reports, Zelensky and Mitsotakis were visiting the Odessa port city around 10:30 in the morning, this morning, when air raid sirens could be heard, and then within minutes the explosion occurred. Zelensky told reporters afterwards, quote, "We witnessed the strike today. You see who we're dealing with. They don't care where they hit. I know there were casualties today. I don't know all the details yet, but I know there are casualties." He went on. "Whether they are military, civilians, international guests, it doesn't matter to those people. Either they've lost their minds," referring to the Russians, "or they have no control over their terrorist army's actions. This emphasizes the need for us to defend ourselves, and the best way is through an air defense system." End quote. Zelensky. Now, Zelensky's been asking for air defense system, for military jets, for the kind of military hardware that is necessary to defend oneself when your country is being invaded by a filthy fucking bastard like Putin, or Donald Trump for that matter. But Trump's allies, his fascist allies in the U.S. House, will not allow this to come to a vote. Meanwhile, the people of Ukraine, who are struggling to maintain their democracy, are being pushed back. The military is losing ground because they don't have the weaponry to fight the more superior, at least in terms of arms, Russian army, which is being supplied now, it's my understanding, by China and by Iran. And what is the United States doing under this icy grip of these fascists like the Speaker of the House? We're doing nothing. We're letting this happen because this is what Trump has demanded. How can this be? I mean, seriously, how can this be? This filthy son of a, they talk about Biden's 81 years old. Trump is facing 91 criminal indictments. And yet he picked up millions of votes yesterday in these various state primaries. I want to say it demonstrates the power that Hitler talked about with the big lie. Repeat it over and over and over. Get your minions to repeat it. Get people in the media to repeat it. All the lies. Even though people in the media try to frame it as a negative. Well, Mr. Trump still declares that the election was stolen from him. Every time somebody who is a journalist says that, it further cements, it further normalizes the crap, the lies, the bullshit that this orange bastard has put out. We're going to regret this, At some point we are, for not demanding that our media take a position to defend democracy. And they're not doing that. They're still abiding by this old bullshit rule. Well, you got to present both sides. Even when one of the sides is run by a fascist dictator fucker who wants to destroy not just the government of the United States, but wants to destroy media also. Well, what are they going to do? What is MSNBC? What is CNN? What is New York Times, Washington Post? What the fuck are they going to do when they are shut down? When their editors and writers are marched off to a detention camp? What are they going to do then? Are they still going to say, well, okay, we're being marched to a detention camp, but on the other hand, the Greek Prime Minister, Mitsotakis, was quoted by the Ukrainian state broadcasting company as saying, quote, "We heard the sound of sirens and explosions that were very close to us. We didn't have time to go to a safe place," end quote. So they had to hit the deck. And the city of Odessa has been particularly hard hit in recent days, and Zelensky keeps pointing to delays by allies in supplying air defense. And that is what's contributing to the rising toll of civilian deaths in the city of Odessa. Well, one of the most beautiful cities on the Black Sea. Yeah, it's on the Black Sea. I haven't been there, no, but I have certainly seen videos of Odessa, especially when it was a major Jewish enclave. Beautiful city. Over the weekend, a Russian attack on an apartment building killed 12 people, including 5 children. And because drones and missiles heading for Odessa are typically launched from the nearby Crimean Peninsula, which is part of Ukraine, but which was taken by Russia, 10 years ago? And since that's where the missiles are coming from, when the air raid sirens go off or the warnings go off, people typically have little time to seek shelter. So they die. In a recent address on his social media site referring to these Iranian-made attack drones used by Russia, Zelensky said this, quote, "The world has enough missile defense systems to protect against Shahed drones," those are ones made in Iran, "and missiles, and delaying the supply of weapons to Ukraine, missile defense systems to protect our people, leads, unfortunately, to such death." To such death. And yet the Christian fascists in the U.S. House will do nothing. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.